Hello and welcome to another episode of Talking with F. This is Radio 105.6 and welcome to this bright morning. Nah, I'm kidding. Can you imagine if I talked like that? If I started every podcast, it'd be absolutely bad, wouldn't it? Um, but then again, you listen to a lot of radio stations and radio stations or TV shows, especially these morning shows, and that's how they start off. Like they put this whole act on. Like they can never start you off like, "Hi, you're right, welcome to the morning show, welcome to this show, we're going to talk about this, that." They put like they like over exert their voice. So they're like, "Hello and welcome to 105.6 FM." I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but god damn, like, it, I don't know why they do it. It might have been really popular back in the days. Like, I'm thinking early 2000s, when it was the height of radio stations and you had all these TV shows on actual TV rather than nowadays where you have everything online, and they start off like that and it seemed like a popular format. But when radio stations or any TV shows do it these days, I don't know. I don't like that. I'd rather just you start something off like you normally do, like I start my podcast off like, welcome to Talking with, and we're going to talk about such and such and such and such. Um, anyway, leaving that to aside, how's everyone doing? How's everyone surviving in this quarantine period, in this isolation period? Um, in the UK where I'm based, the thing's been extended for another 3 weeks. Um, so that's more isolation, more only going out for essential needs, and a lot of social distancing. The newspapers have been wary. They've been talking a lot about about how long this isolation is going to go on for, and a lot of people think that it'll be lifted in the next few months, but social distancing will still remain in place. Which, to be honest, I don't really get. Like, how can a quarantine be lifted but social distancing still stay in place? So, like, imagine if quarantine's lifted and you want to go to a restaurant to eat, or you want to go to a cinema to watch a movie. Like, what you gonna do? Sit like 6 feet apart from everybody else? Like, are you gonna go to a restaurant and you know they're gonna have a table open, and then they're gonna have two tables closed and another table open, and everyone's gonna be 6 feet apart? Like, how's that gonna work? Like, that's one thing I don't get. But I think the general consensus is, sorry about that, I mixed that a little bit up, is that the essentially the quarantine or this social distancing that they told us to do will most likely be lifted once there's a vaccine for it. They're working on it right now. Um, I mean, the whole world's working on one right now, but they're saying that the earliest that they could ever do it is either at the end of this year or early next year. And even then, when they do find a cure for this corona, they'll still have to manufacture it and distribute it to millions or millions of people, which that alone will take a long ass period of time. If you think about it, like, it's not just that they're gonna have to manufacture a couple of thousands. They're gonna have to do like millions and millions of of vaccines for everyone around the world. And then again, on top of that, it depends what country gets it first as well. Like, if America get it, or Germany get it, or France get it, I doubt they're gonna be distributing it to the rest of the world straight away. Ideally, they'd want to look after their own population and make sure everyone else gets it there first before everyone else gets it around the world, which is going to make it longer. But hopefully everyone's staying safe at this time, and this whole corona bullshit can pass as quickly as possible. Um, but what I've been watching quite recently is, and if you haven't seen this, I'd recommend watching it, is Nighy The Fiancé. Um, it's a really funny ass show. So basically, what the premise is that it's like two strangers that have met online, and or met somehow, and they don't really know each other quite well, and they get to know each other as quickly as possible, and they get married. Um, Now there's one character called Big Ed, and you know he looks like a hippo, to be honest. He's basically got no neck. Like if you saw pictures of him, like if you do watch this show, he'll pop up, and like he's literally got no neck. And so what he does is he goes, I think he goes to Indonesia. He meets a girl online, and he goes to Indonesia to basically get married to her. And then he goes over there and he tries to get to know her, and he basically gets put through his paces. And then this whole consensus of is a girl just trying to bait him and use him for a green card so she can come over to America where he lives and basically use him for money. And it's got quite a few characters on there as well. There's quite a few women, like the women from America, and these women are like in their 60s and 70s, and they meet people online, in different countries. Like there's one woman in America, and she met this guy from Algeria over like a dating app, and they both started talking, and the guy's quite young. Like it's not like there's nothing wrong with him. He's like in his late 20s, and she's in her late 60s, and she goes over, and the guy's quite decent looking, to be honest. And she's like, oh, why did he pick me, why did he choose me? And he's there just spouting some bullshit. But I think that he wants a green card, so like he's kind of using it to come over. And when you watch shows like that, it makes you think, like, do they have no common sense themselves? Like, does that woman really think that like a person who's less than who's basically half her age loves her and wants to marry her and spend the rest of his life with her? Which is quite funny to watch, to be honest. Like it's definitely a good show to watch. And surprisingly, there's a lot of catfishes on that show as well. Like, and the thing is, when you watch the show, you think to yourself, like, why the fuck do these people not notice? Like, there was one guy from America, and he was talking to this Russian girl online for over 2 years, and it wasn't even like he had a number. He was talking to her on chat, and all he'd ever seen of her whilst talking to her for 2 years were pictures. Like every time he tried to start, like, a FaceTime with her, or try to start anything that where there'd be like any face-to-face interaction over video call, she'd always, like, come up with a bullshit reason by saying she can't, or she's busy, or she doesn't have that, she can't really do that on the phone because she's got an old phone. So he chatted to her for 2 years, just on a photo. And what he does is he tries to meet her, so he tries to arrange a meet up with her, and she's like, oh yeah, come to Russia, and I'll meet you at the airport, this and that. So the guy flies all the way to Russia just off a chat. Remember, he's just met her on a chat. He's never even seen her in person. He's never even seen her, like, on a video call, on anything like FaceTime. He's just seen photos of her, and he travels all the way to Russia, and he's in a cafe waiting for her, and she never turns up. Like, she just leaves him standing, and he's there texting her on the phone, like, oh, I'm at the cafe, when are you gonna come, and he just gets stood up. And you just think, like, how daft can you be? Like, if you're quite young, like if you're like 17 or 18, then you could put it off the age. Like, you know you're not that well you're not that well into you know the workings of the world. But like the guy's in his late 50s or 60s, and he's still getting catfished out here. And that show reminded me of another TV show, um, you know on MTV, called Catfish. And that was like that that was a really really messed up show. Like, I felt sorry for people who get catfished. Like, these guys would meet people, like they'd literally talk to someone online or over the phone for like 2 to 3 years, never seen him in person. And then, you know the only way that they could see that person is if they contacted the Catfish TV show, producers, and told them, I think I got a story for you. I've been talking to such and such and I never met. Can you help me out? And then the Catfish producers and the department and the research team would track the other person down, and then they record the reactions of when the two meeting, when both of them meeting up, and so apparently like a guy would be thinking he's talking to like a 20-something young looking, good looking blonde girl, and then he meets up and it's really a fat guy who's in his 40s. He can't even get off the sofa, and he's just been messing with him for 2 years, 3 years. And the most fucked up thing is, like, when like in some occasions when they'd meet up, like the person who's been catfishing, they wouldn't even be surprised or shocked. They'd be like, yeah, I was catfishing him, I was bored and I thought I'd do it. And like, you think to yourself, mate, like you basically wasted someone's time for 2 years. But that's me just rambling on about a little bit of about these shows that were done back in the days as well. And I came across something interesting as well. I was watching the BMF, the Black Mafia Family documentary. It was like a rap enterprise in America, back in the 90s to the early 2000s. The main person who was the head of that was a guy called Big Meech, and they were basically, they were really big. Like, everyone thought they were like a big record label back when really like rap was really kicking off, like in the late 90s, when it was becoming a worldwide thing and there was like millions on millions of record sales. And what happened was they got investigated by the FBI, and it was found out that it was like a whole criminal enterprise, and all of them got caught. The leader, Big Meech, he got like 30 years in prison, and he's gonna come out when he's like 65. And apparently what they were saying was, like, they didn't have anything on the leader, Big Meech. They didn't have any, what do you call it, any evidence to show that he was committing any criminal activity. Like, the only way they indicted him was like the rest of his crew who they arrested, who they did have shit on for selling drugs and such, they all flipped, and they basically snitched on him, and at the end of it he got like 30 years, which is fucked up, to be honest. Like, if you live that life and you're well into it, should you really ideally be snitching? Like, if you get time, you should do it. That's basically my thought. If you get time for it, you should just take it and do it, and that's the way it should be done. As you can tell from this episode, I've been listening to not listening, but I've been watching a lot of TV shows. Like, it's not even that I fully watch them. It's more like I'll be on YouTube, and for some reason, I don't know if this has ever happened, like you go on YouTube and it comes up as your recommendation, like something that's been on for like 4 or 5 years. It'll just come up in your recommendation page, and you see the title, you click on it, and you get really into it. That's how I got into 90 Day Fiancé. Like, it just came up as a recommendation, and I thought, what's this? Let me check it out. Clicked on it, and I found it quite entertaining. So it's a good way to like get put onto new TV shows and everything of that sort. And what else have I been doing? I've been going for my daily exercise every day. It's part of your, let's put it as allowance, in the UK, that you can do essential shopping, and you can do like a daily exercise. So what I'll do is, like, 4 or 5 in the afternoon, I'll go for like a little walk outside just to get some fresh air, to be honest. Like, it's not like staying at home all the time is not really good. It's not really good for you. And and plus the weather's been really good as well in the UK, so it's always good to get a little bit of sun, and just see what's happening outside. And for some reason, like, I've been noticing over these last couple of days, like, everything's getting much more busier. Like, a few weeks ago, like, I think they stopped running the bus services, and now they've like restarted them. And plus you can tell like the roads are getting much more busier. There's more cars on the roads, although they haven't lifted anything. Like, they haven't said, oh, quarantine's going to stop. They've basically, there seems to be more activity. there's more people walking. But then again, like I was outside when I was walking, and there's another guy coming down the road, and I thought to myself, all right, he gets a little bit closer, I'm gonna cross the road because I don't really want to walk past him. But before I could do that, the guy just crossed the road himself. So people are, you know, paying attention to the rules and trying to avoid any human contact with people they don't know. Like you can have contact with your family, like the family you're living with, you know you can have contact with them, but what they say is like any person you're not living with or any stranger, you shouldn't really be going near them. You should be doing this whole 6 feet apart, um, which the shopping centres have implemented quite a lot. Like you go Tesco, Asda, Sainsbury's, and the lines are mad. Like because what they've done is they only let a certain amount of people inside the stores. So like in the whole store there'll only be like about 30 or 40 people, and then you have to line up, and then on top of that the lines are like everyone's 6 feet apart in the lines as well. Like even some places even got stickers on the floor where they basically measured it out where you should stand and how far you should stand from someone. And like sometimes like I think, you know, I need to go shopping, I need to get some milk, I need to get some bread, and I'll go to these stores and I'll just see the line, and I'll be like, fuck that. That's me waiting in that line for like a good 2 hours, and I'll just turn the car around, come home, wait for a bit, and then when it gets a little bit later, and then I go for it. But the funny thing that I found is like there was an article on the BBC, you know, stating that they were basically saying what are the best times to go to shopping centres when they'll be less busy. But won't that make that time more busier? Like I'll give you an example. Like if there's an article and it says, you know, you can go to Tesco at 6 p.m. because hardly anyone goes at that time. Don't you think like the amount of people that'll be reading that they'll go at that exact time at 6 p.m. and they'll make it busy? Like how's that meant to work? I don't get that. Um, but hey, it's part of this quarantine life. I mean, who would have thought that like 5 6 weeks ago we were just chilling, we in the car, riding around, going to our workplaces, enjoying our social life, and now everyone's like locked up. You know, you have to stay home, can only go out for necessary things. Which, to be honest, like it is fair. Like we should be listening to the government in that respect, and you know making sure everything they say that we follow. Um, and plus, I was listening to David Icke. Like I don't know if you guys know who David Icke is. He's like this really big conspiracy theory guy, from the UK. Well, he's known worldwide, to be honest. And he was going on about, you know, about why the governments have started this coronavirus, how they want to control the world, how they want to start contactless payments. Um, you know, he was going off about quite a few things, but one thing that did stick out to me was about contactless payments. Um, you know, for the longest time, it's been like there's always been this, like the banks have pushed it, and even the governments have pushed it a bit as well, about, you know, we want to get to a cashless society, you should use your card more. And you know, since this corona's come through, like like my mum herself, like when she goes shopping, she buys everything with cash. And you know, since this corona started, they were like, you know, you can still on surfaces for, you know, for 2 days. And I got thinking to myself, like, you know, I can't really be having that. I can't really have my mum spending cash and getting spending £20 and getting £10 back in change. Like who knows what that £10 been? Like who knows who's handled that? And like I set it up a brand new card for her, and then I got thinking, I was like, to be honest, like, you know, David Icke, he does make some good points if you think about it. Like I doubt it's only me that's decided to like get someone else onto a cashless, you know, cashless plan. Let's put it that way. Like there's probably a lot of other people that were normally handling cash and they prefer to pay by cash and get cash out, and you know, pay everything by cash, that they've decided to go by card just because they want to avoid any, you know, any chance of getting a corona. But who knows? That's my two thoughts of it, and we'll just say that about it. Anyway, it's good talking to everyone. You can expect these episodes to be every Friday. I think we've established that. Like, I always drop an episode on Friday. It gives you something to look forward to, and gives me like a reason to chat shit every Friday as well to whoever's listening out there. On top of that, I'll try to drop more episodes throughout the week. I am on Spotify and iTunes, so you can listen to me on there. All you have to do is go on any of those two and type in Talking with F, and it'll have my latest episode on there. And follow me on Instagram and Twitter, Talking with F. Just type it in and I should pop up. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye.